Hello and welcome back to THM. Now today it's got a little short video going on for you. I've been doing a bit of research over the last week or so since my last video, and I've been looking at moments in the BTCC which fell through or missed opportunities, etc. And some of them are actually really bloody interesting, to be fair. So I've picked out 3 of them here which I think would have had the biggest effect on BTCC history as we know it if they went through. Now, before I jump into the first one, I just need you guys just to press that subscribe button on my page just to help us out if you're enjoying my videos. Let's jump into it. Now, my first story starts back in 1992 and with the ProDrive BMW team. Now, ProDrive were running Tim Sugden, Colin McRae at Knock Hill and Alain Menu for the season, and they ran some BMW 3 Series as you can see. Now, they lost their BMW contract at the end of 1992 and needed something to do in 93 and 1994. Now, just to put a little bit of meat onto this story before we get into the 93 season, ProDrive, for those of you that don't know, and really you should know, are probably one of the best teams for building race cars. They've done Formula 1 stuff, they've done loads of touring car stuff with the Mondeo, the Honda and the BMWs, and they've also done the legendary Colin McRae Super Impreza, as well as a whole host of other things. So these guys are a serious team with some serious pedigree. The plan was to stick with German manufacturers after they lost their BMW contract, and they were going to bring in Mercedes-Benz and use a C-Class in the British touring cars. Now, Tim Sugden, who was a driver at the time, was penned in to drive for them, and was going to do the last 3 rounds of the 1993 season before doing a full programme in 94 and then into 1995. Well, the cars were going to be run by the ProDrive team, as I've mentioned, but they were actually going to be built in the AMG factory out in Germany. So it's going to be, by all intensive purposes, a full factory effort. With Tim Sugden penned in to drive one of the cars, you'd like to think that one of the Mercedes junior drivers would have taken the second seat, or perhaps someone from DTM like Bernd Schneider or Klaus Ludwig would have come over, and that would have been awesome to see. Unfortunately, the bosses in Germany never gave this a green light and the money ran out. But let's have a look at what could have happened in a few seasons if Mercedes run this car. In their first full season of touring car racing, would it have beaten the Trick Alfa Romeo 155? And the only answer is no, it wouldn't. It had its Trick spoilers, it was driven by a Tarquini who was brilliant, it wouldn't have beaten them. However, if we look into 1995, they've got a season under the belt, and the winner that year was driving a Vauxhall Cavalier, being John Cleland. It was a good car, don't get me wrong, but would a Mercedes-Benz works effort with 1 year's racing under their belt, would they have won the title in 1995? I think they probably would have, with the access to resources and drivers that they had. So we've got a potential missed championship here for them. And it would have been great to see Mercedes in the BTCC. It'd be great to see them now. Now, we fast forward a few years to 1998, and this team actually made the grid, so to speak, the entry list. That being Alfa Romeo. Now, they were going to enter their 156, which as you can see here is an absolutely stunning car. Look at this. And they were going to enter Ferrari F1 man, Nicola Larini, and everyone's favourite little Italian, Fabrizio Giovanardi. Now, let me give the case why I think this is one of the biggest missed opportunities in BTCC. Now, first of all, if you look at 1998, it was run by Ricard Riedel in his Volvo. And he didn't walk it, to be fair. I think he won something like 5 races in the whole season, which actually, back then, wasn't a lot. And in 1999, Laurent Aiello won at his first attempt in Nissan. And that Nissan was a wicked car, to be fair. But when you factor in a team which is so good in Alfa Romeo, and you also factor in the drivers, an ex-Formula 1 driver, Nicola Larini, and Fabrizio Giovanardi, which has won absolutely everything and showed when he came to the British touring cars in the mid to late 2000s, he won that twice in a row as well. So these are 2 brilliant drivers, it's a fantastic team and it's a fantastic car. I'm going to put up the results of Fabrizio around that kind of time, which should have entered the BTCC in this car, and he absolutely rinsed it, to be fair. He won the Italian touring cars 2 seasons on a bounce. Great driver. Would he have won in 98? Possibly. Would have he won in 99? A little bit less of a guaranteed kind of win, to be fair, because the Nissan was great, but you have to back Fabrizio. Now, you must be thinking, how did this all fall apart with such a promising car, promising drivers and promising team? Now, Alfa was originally going to enter the Italian touring cars in the German STW Cup back in 98. And then doing a couple of races in Britain and Germany here and there. Now, as is quite often the way, unfortunately, with Italian sports, it was all politics to start off with. The factory teams threatened to withdraw and start a breakaway series if their concerns over promotion and media coverage wasn't addressed. which is why Alfa then went to enter the BTCC, because at the time in '98 the BTCC was probably the touring car place to be. It was brilliant. Anyway, after the first 2 rounds, a new promoter was hired who brought in loads of changes, and all the manufacturers were happy. He also changed all of the schedule, which means that all of the Italian races were running pretty much the same time as the British races. So Alfa kind of had to make a decision between Italy or Great Britain, and unfortunately they chose the Italian series, and we never saw them. So we end this video with Vauxhall in 2001, and probably one of the best and probably the most successful touring car ever in the Astra Coupe. Now in 2001, Vauxhall's original plans were to run Jason Plato, Ivan Muller and Tom Ferrier as like a junior driver, but that never happened, and let's see why. So the original plan, like I say, was to run Muller and Plato and Tom Ferrier. Tom was 18, 19 at the time, real up-and-coming talent, and he actually done a test pre-season 2001 in the Astra. But then Phil Bennett came along with his egg money, and instead of originally running Ferrier, Muller, Plato as a 3, Vauxhall then chose the egg money, and they had Muller and Plato, as it always was going to be, then run a second team with Phil Bennett and James Thompson. Tom went on and drove the Alfa 147 for the rest of 2001, and to be fair, it wasn't great. And the Vauxhall Astra, which he should have been driving, won something silly like 25 out of 26 races or something like that. They only didn't win 1 race, which is ridiculous. And all of the drivers which raced for either Export or the Vauxhall main team all won a race that season. The reason why it's such a big missed opportunity is if you look at the contrasting careers between the drivers. So Tom Ferrier done 2 seasons with Motorbase in a fairly substandard Seat Toledo, and that was it. Now, let's have a look at the other Export drivers across 2001 and 2002. One of the less impressive, and that ironically is Phil Bennett. He won a couple of races in 2001 for basically the car which Tom should have been driving, and then went on to have 2 more seasons, again with a works outfit, can I say, not an independent, with Proton. So again, a decent career, moved on from Export and got a manufactured drive. You can't really argue with that. Phil Bennett's teammate that season, of course, was James Thompson, who again won a few races in the Export vehicle, then moved over to a works manufacturer Vauxhall drive, where he won the championship in 2002 and 2004, and then went on to do a couple of outings here and there for Seat Sport UK, again another manufacturer driver, and Team Dynamics, Airwaves Racing, as well as WTCC stuff. So again, a brilliant career after the Export in 2001. When you go into next year in 2002 and you look at their drivers then, they have Paul O'Neill, who obviously has gone on to win races and have a long career, and Matt Neal as well, who I don't need to say has been fantastic in the BTCC and a champion. They also ran Andy Priaulx as well, who obviously was very successful in World Touring Cars and BTCC. So you have to feel, with Tom Ferrier being lined up for that drive, a proven race-winning car, with possible manufacturer backing in the following seasons when a seat at the main team becomes available, would he have won races? Would he have been a champion? Being only 18 or 19 at the time, you have to say yes. So that is the end of today's video and my little look at 3 big what-if moments in BTCC recent history. Now, if you can think of any more, or ones that I've missed out, or if you want to add in anything which I've missed in the video, please comment below, and don't forget, as always, to like, share with your pals and subscribe. See you next time.